Everybody's seen Batman Begins. Everyone's seen Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. Christopher Nolan took and had the idea and concept of doing a Batman in real world scenario. But unbeknownst to him, he would wind up destroying the DCEU entirely. Why? Because other directors would get a hold of the rights to create a Superman movie, and in doing so, they decided to go with the real world element, like Christopher Nolan. And in doing so, they actually, unbeknownst to him, to Nolan, for doing his Batman, would, of course, destroy the DC Extended Universe because, unbeknownst to them, to Nolan, others would try to recapture his lightning, or hence the lightning in a bottle scenario. Which, in doing so, Superman became an underused character. Why am I saying this? Well, stop thinking. Okay? You watch Man of Steel. It's about Clark finding out who he is and what he can do. Alright? And then you got Batman versus Superman. And you got a jacked up Batman reacting to what an alien did to the Earth when Superman fought Zod. I should say aliens. Right? But because Zack Snyder went with trying to do the real world scenario with Superman, right? Superman was limited, right? And he was underutilized. Because you watch Man of Steel, you get bits and pieces of his childhood, you get small rescues and that he's done, but the character's not really truly flushed out, right? It's like, what, 45 minutes to an hour in before he finds out who he is, and then you get to know him, and then boom, the big baddies show up, and he's got to stop them. It's like, really? You're trying to recapture Batman Begins by doing flashback sequences. Oh, hold on. The reason that worked for Batman Begins is because basically you're taking the journey with Batman, Bruce Wayne, into becoming Batman. Superman, no, you don't really take the journey with him. You bounce around through his life. Yes, Superman's, for the most part, his origin's been retold many times, but most of it is usually through cartoons or comics. But a live action, they've only done it one other major live action. They only did it one time, and that was through Richard Donner's Superman the movie, which at the time, for its time, was actually for its time, lightning in a bottle too. And uh, Zack Snyder was trying to recapture that. You can't do it. You can't do it. You can't take and do flashbacks in a story that needs to focus on the past, present, and future because you scave through so much, and then you take in throw in the aspect that yes, there's flashbacks, but you're not really taking the journey with Superman. You're pretty much just being thrown in and having to quick piece together everything that he figures out instead of actually taking the journey with him. Right? And then because they tried doing a real world, you limited the power of this being. You got a person who's supposed to be able to bench press the weight of the earth, and you strip him down and make him a weenie. And it's wrong. And then what happens in Batman versus Superman, you stop to think about it, Superman's only been around for a smidgen of time. There's no way somebody who's being hated because of what they can do and the fact that they're not human is gonna have such a major effect on the world in such a short period of time. And then decide to kill him off, you know? You can't do that because there's no character development. It's he saved the world once, and everyone, half the people loved him, the other half hated him, and then you're framing him for crimes that show signs that he himself could not have done because he doesn't shoot people with guns, and that's obvious evidence. That's what people in the movie died from, but hey, who am I to judge? And then you throw in the fact that anyone with a brain would see that the people he's framed for killing were killed by guns. It's not rocket science. You got bodies. Oh, they were burned, incinerated, blah, blah, blah. There's still going to be bullets. Even if you heat up, you burn the bodies to ash, it takes even more to liquefy the bullets to destroy the evidence of bullets. Unless, of course, you're using, was it frozen liquid nitrogen? Then you can pull it off because it'll turn to gas and there'll be no bullets. But you'd still have entry wounds from bullets. It's a contradiction unto itself. But what Zack Snyder did was he introduced the character, threw in the big bad guy, have him save the world once, and then have him do small heroic saves throughout Batman versus Superman, but never substantiate, never do enough saves to where he'd actually affect the world on a global scale when he dies, because still about 60-70% of the populace hates Superman in that. So when they introduce the big bad of Doomsday, and Superman dies, even though he dies, the world would not mourn him the way that he did because he's still an underutilized character. There's not enough character development for the people of the world to love him and mourn him the way that they have it in the movie. So that's like the hugest problem. Superman's underutilized. Yeah, he's done a handful of heroic saves in that, but stop thinking about it. It's not that much. It's not that impressive. Because, yes, he's done this, and this, but still, it's not enough for him to be granted a global mourning like they give him in the movie. So, in all fairness, it was it was premature to give him the type of respect they gave him when he dies in Batman versus Superman. Why? Because he was underutilized. His heroics, even though they were quite great, they it wasn't enough to give him the global respect that they give him in the movie. It's more along the lines of he did this, this, and this. Let's make him a national treasure. No, he's not that big of a deal, right? Because in the real world, come on, yeah, he did a bunch of saves, but it's not enough to reward as big of a response as it got, right? The reason DC's comics Superman's death, Superman Doomsday was so big, is because there was already a Justice League, and Superman had already heroically done an abundance of saves. Even if you were to cut down the amount of saves, but kept it at least a quarter mark of what he'd done, then yeah, you would get the kind of funeral for Superman that they try making out in the movie. But because he was underutilized, and you didn't see how much stuff he'd done other than pieces here and there, it wasn't enough for him to make such an impact on the world. That being said, his death wouldn't have affected the world like it does in the movie. All right? Right. And then, is it Justice League? Over half the movie is them trying to prepare for the rise of uh, Dark Side, but you know it's not really enough. And the thought of bringing eventually the thought of bringing Superman back, still it's not enough, and that's where he went so wrong. He was trying to do in what 4 hours what took years in comics to do. Don't get me wrong. I've watched Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League, and I'll tell you right now, it's hands down 1,000 times better than the Justice League we originally got. But I'm sorry, they honestly need to kill off. Just leave that version Superman dead. Henry Cavill, he didn't do anything wrong. He did great for what he was given. They need to relaunch Superman and do a better storyline. Just I don't know. We and the one Man of Steel storyline with as it is a what if scenario, I guess. And restart Superman. Batman's been restarted multiple times. He's had more live action recaps of his life. Keep Henry Cavill and relaunch the Superman universe. And in doing so, go more along with the comics. At least give him two, not just one major big bad, and then throw in a super big bad like Zack Snyder. I'm sorry, that's where he was stupid. You got a small big bad who plans to destroy the world, like General Zod, and then you have a more global threat with Doomsday because they decided to make him a jacked up global threat, bigger than General Zod. And in doing so, you might actually get somewhere with the franchise. I'm sorry. What they did, they literally cut and paste Superman together, and they're trying to do leaps and bounds to catch up with Marvel. And the reason is because yes, DC got the mile long jump ahead of Marvel, but then Marvel didn't care and they came in and they walked you through each character, other than Black Widow and Hawkeye. And then, stop thinking about it, Black Widow gets a live action standalone movie, while at the same time, Hawkeye gets a Disney Plus series or mini series. Yeah. But other than that, most of the characters were flushed out. They flushed out Iron Man, they flushed out Thor for the most part. They flushed out Guardians of the Galaxy for the most part. Doctor Strange and that, Black Panther, Ant-Man and the Wasp. They flushed them out enough so the the events that they contributed to were so. But they didn't run blindly into the night. But because Henry Cavill was underutilized and underused as a character, the effects of what he'd done leading up to Justice League were not big enough for the events that are the effects that Superman's short time at tenure as Superman had. If he had larger saves under his belt, yeah, then you would have a global mourning. But the fact that he saved the world once, and then you throw in what could be another planetary threat, big bad, as Doomsday, and then you kill him off. He's underutilized. People haven't had a chance to relate somewhat or connect with that character because you're taking him, you're introducing him, you're throwing him up against the big bad. You're taking him and you're traveling him into another story where it's not even a big bad. It's facing off against a manipulated Batman who's already unstable because of events that have already happened, like the losing of a Robin. And then, oh wow, we got a Superman that's dead. And it's stupid because he's underutilized. I'm sorry, you're not going to get the reaction that you got. And that's what destroyed the series. And then you're trying to throw in comic book characters into a real world event scenario, and it's like magic don't exist, so how should Shazam fit in? And he can't. But we're gonna mash it together and make him fit. But whatever. Henry Cavill did nothing wrong. He did great with what he was given. Go back, redo the Superman. He should have at least been 3 movies to 4 movies in before you have him go up against the likes of Doomsday. And Doomsday should actually be more closer to the comics than what we were given. But this was Larry's Topics. Have a good one.